Fine, thank you very much. And a number of you I know are involved very much with the food banks, including the Smethwick Food Bank down at Holy Trinity, one of the biggest, I understand, in the Midlands, possibly one of the larger ones in the country. So why do we need food banks in this day and age? More than at any time previously. Now, life has always been tough in this area. That's one of the reasons, by the way, why we have quite a low life expectancy, because people worked hard in difficult, dangerous industries, but they were able to get quite often long hours and actually to be able to make a living. So what has happened? What's been the big change? And one of the big changes is that more and more families now are living very close to the edge, and it only takes a small knock to put them over that edge, a small knock to send them down into a downward spiral. They lose their job, they apply for benefit. It takes a while to assess them for that. They then, for some reason, family crisis, or they miss the bus or whatever, they turn up late at the job centre. They get sanctioned for that, and you know. Yes, we do want people to turn up on time. What I don't think is right, if they lose a month's money for missing out on that, it's quite disproportionate. And there is a suspicion, I put it no more than that, that actually the officials there are on a target for the number of people they sanction and take off the off the benefit. And so at each stage, people are finding themselves being knocked on one side. Then they get back into work, and it was mentioned. They get back into work, and they find it takes several weeks before they can actually get paid. But in the meantime, of course, they've come off benefit. What happens then? People go to payday lenders in order just to make the rent, because they don't want the council coming down on them for not paying their rent. Or they don't want to then get penalty charges from the electricity or the gas. All of these are constant stress, because even often for many people, when they're in work now, they then find out they've got uncertain hours. And how can you plan your budget if you don't know if you're going to be working 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever number of hours that week? Because unlike the people who are making some of those decisions, people don't have that cushion of the bank balance that actually helps them to get by and to get through. And we do have, and it's been mentioned several times, and to some degree of applause, we've had the people saying about the targets culture and the tick box. I'm in favour of statistics. I'm in favour of statistics as a guide to action, not as a rigid system, because life is untidy. Life is difficult, life is uncertain. And to say, well, if you don't fit these boxes, then I'm afraid we can't do anything for you, is quite against the reality of the lives so many people live, and often at different times in their life. One of the other things that particularly aggrieves me is on criminal record bureau checks. Of course, we've got to make sure that we protect vulnerable people, young people, pensioners and others from abuse. However, I do not see why someone who has a minor conviction when they're about 15 or 16 is prevented from working when they're about 27, 28, let alone the fact it sometimes takes about 8 weeks to get that through the police, or even longer. And yet you're having people who've turned their lives round, but they've got no chance now of building on those lives. Again, we're throwing people back, we're throwing them down, we're giving them no hope or opportunity. Similarly with people who have a drug problem. I remember, I don't know if many of you remember Phil Raw, the Chief Superintendent at Piddock Road Police Station, tough copper, but really battling away with the health authority to make sure that when he got people who wanted to turn their lives around, they were actually able to do that with a drugs rehabilitation programme, to get back, to redeem themselves and to actually play a positive part in society. We're getting very close to the end here. A lot of that I've been talking about people with relation to work, but this becomes, as has been said, an intergenerational problem. Because if you're in a family where you're up and down, if you're in private rented accommodation and moving around and having to change schools, and if your parents don't know where the next meal is coming from or the next money is coming from, then your life is blighted by that. Your ability to perform to your best and to make a future for yourself is limited. What people want is a much greater degree of security. I've indicated some areas of that, and I'm sure in discussions round on the doorsteps and over the next 5 years we'll be developing more.